Picture this. 72 minutes gone. A Dutch player drops to his knees in the middle of the pitch and breaks down completely. Not in defeat. Not yet. In relief. In grief. In everything he has been carrying silently for days. His parents are watching from the stands, barely able to hold themselves together, and the man who designed every tactical element of that night would be stepping away from football before the next sunrise. One tournament, one match, one decision, and the entire history of Dutch football changed in the worst possible direction. Ronald Koeman is gone. Resigned. Done. A football legend, a man who managed Barcelona, Everton, Ajax, and captained the Netherlands as a player, walked away from the job that had defined his return to management. And the story of how this unraveled is genuinely extraordinary. A team playing brilliant football, a coach who suddenly abandoned everything that was working, a shootout straight out of a recurring Dutch nightmare, and a personal revelation that puts every tactical conversation into a very different kind of perspective. Start with the scale of what happened, because it demands to be stated plainly. The Netherlands had reached the round of 16 in 11 consecutive World Cups. 11. That was not a source of pride for Dutch football. It was the expectation, the absolute floor. Anything less was failure. And this time, they went out in the round of 32, against Morocco. The earliest World Cup exit in the entire history of Dutch football. Never before, in any edition of the tournament, had the Netherlands gone home this early from a World Cup they had qualified for. Koeman didn't just lose a game. He oversaw the worst result his country has ever produced at this tournament. And the genuinely maddening thing is that nobody watching the group stage saw it coming. Because in those 3 group matches, the Dutch were electric. 10 goals scored, including a 5-1 demolition of Sweden that had neutrals genuinely asking whether this team could go all the way. Fluid, attacking, fearless football. The kind that made the orange jersey iconic in the first place. Chances carved open with real ease. A team playing with joy and without a trace of hesitation. If you had told any supporter watching those matches that the Dutch were about to produce one of the most passive knockout performances in years, you would have been laughed out of the conversation. And then, Koeman made his decision. Against Morocco, instead of trusting the system that had been scoring goals for fun, he switched to a 5-man defensive back line. A shape he had barely deployed across his entire second stint in charge. A reactive, cautious setup built around one idea: stop Morocco, sit deep, contain rather than attack. And think about what that actually means. A team that just scored 10 goals across 3 group matches, playing with momentum and confidence and a functioning attacking structure, and the coach decides the answer going into the knockouts is to retreat, to invite pressure, to play scared. It backfired completely. The back 5 did not neutralize Morocco. It strangled the Dutch attack instead. The Netherlands stopped pressing, surrendered possession, and retreated into their own half. They were transformed from that fluid, dangerous side into something passive and heavy-footed and almost unrecognizable. One analyst described it simply and devastatingly. The setup allowed Morocco to play. Allowing Morocco to play is not a strategy. This is a team that reached the semifinals of the 2022 World Cup. You give them space and time at your absolute peril. Yet somehow, it almost held. Koeman eventually abandoned the back 5 and threw on an extra striker, and in the 72nd minute, Cody Gakpo poked home to make it 1-0. And that was the scene from the opening: the knees, the tears, the parents in the stands barely keeping it together. Because Gakpo had chosen to remain with this squad despite suffering a devastating personal loss in his family just days before the tournament. That goal carried the weight of everything he had been carrying for a week. For a moment, a real and tangible moment, the Netherlands looked like they might escape with a result that bore almost no relation to what they had actually produced on the pitch. But this tournament has been taking victims one by one, and it was not finished yet. In the 91st minute, stoppage time, the 91st minute. Let that sit. A cross into the penalty area found Issa Diop rising above Virgil van Dijk to head home his first ever international goal. 1-1. The relief that had almost arrived for Dutch supporters was ripped away in the cruelest possible moment. Extra time settled nothing. Goalkeeper Bart Verbruggen made a stunning save to keep the Netherlands alive. And then came the one scenario Dutch football has turned into a recurring national nightmare: penalties. The Netherlands' 10th ever international penalty shootout, their 8th defeat, their 3rd successive World Cup exit from 12 yards. At some point, bad luck simply stops explaining it. Kluivert struck the post. Timber dragged his effort wide. Somerville had his saved by Bono. Then Saibari of PSV stepped forward, buried the winner, ripped off his shirt, and sent Morocco into the round of 16. The Netherlands were out. The earliest exit in their entire history, decided in the way they dread most. If this kind of football breakdown is why you are here, subscribe now, because this tournament has not even reached its most dramatic moments yet. The criticism was instant, and in truth, the questions about Koeman had been forming long before the tournament began. His second spell in charge had never quite ignited, a tendency toward caution, a passive quality that kept surfacing in the moments that mattered most. In his entire second term as national manager, the Netherlands had not beaten a single country ranked inside FIFA's top 25. Not one. The Morocco decision, seen through that lens, looked less like a bold gamble and more like the inevitable breaking point of an approach that was always going to be exposed under maximum pressure. Koeman did not hide from any of it. He defended the tactical call publicly, said he would make it again, took full responsibility, said nobody was more disappointed than he was. Less than a day after the final whistle, he resigned. But here's the dimension of this story that goes far beyond football, and it deserves the gravity it actually carries. In his farewell statement, Koeman revealed that his wife Bartina has been battling breast cancer throughout this entire tournament, undergoing treatment while he was away with the squad. His words were not those of a man trying to soften an embarrassing exit. They were the words of someone who has genuinely and permanently reordered what matters in life. He wrote about how the past few years had taught him there are things more important than football, that health cannot be priced in results or trophies, that when someone you love is in a serious fight, your perspective changes in a way it never fully reverses. He listed his clubs: Ajax, Feyenoord, PSV, Barcelona, Everton, like a man drawing a deliberate and final line under an entire career. Whatever verdict you reach on the tactics, on the Morocco decision, on the second spell in charge, you send him and his family nothing but strength from here. That part requires no debate whatsoever. One more thing needs to be said, and it cannot be passed over. After the loss, Kluivert, Timber, and Somerville were subjected to horrific racist abuse online. The Dutch Football Association condemned it in the strongest possible terms and committed to pursuing criminal charges against those responsible. Let this be stated without any qualification at all. Missing a penalty at a World Cup is one of the most exposing and brutal moments any athlete can face. These players stepped up under maximum pressure, carrying the expectations of an entire nation, and they fell short. That is football. That is what sport does to people. The abuse directed at them afterward is a disgrace without exception, and every person responsible deserves every consequence heading their way. Now step back and look at the wider picture, because Koeman is not an isolated casualty. He is one part of a pattern that is defining this entire tournament. The Giants are being dismantled round by round, and the teams doing the dismantling were not supposed to be here this deep. On the very same night Morocco sent the Netherlands home, four-time world champions Germany were knocked out by Paraguay. Uruguay, a genuine football superpower, never made it out of the group stage. And advancing onward, Morocco, Paraguay, Cape Verde, becoming the smallest nation ever to reach this stage, Congo. These teams are not merely surviving anymore. They are claiming scalps. They are ending eras. They are rewriting the entire order of world football in real time, and no seeding, no ranking, no historical pedigree provides any shelter whatsoever. Every round, a name you recognize goes home early. Every round, the tournament finds its next victim. Koeman is simply the latest legend added to that list, a man with one of the great coaching careers in European football, undone by a defensive gamble that backfired catastrophically against opponents who refused at every single moment to accept any version of events in which they were supposed to be the underdogs. The question that will follow Dutch football for years is a simple but cutting one. Was the back five the real reason the Netherlands went home? A catastrophic misread that surrendered everything, making this team dangerous? Or was Morocco simply the better side regardless of what formation faced them? Because how you answer that shapes the next manager, the next philosophy, the next 4 years of building toward another tournament. Where do you come down on it? Leave your verdict below. I genuinely want to know. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and stay with us. Because at this World Cup, trust me, not a single giant is safe. And the next name on that list could be the very last one you expect.